Eleanor had poured her very essence into nurturing Ethan, her only son, ever since the silence had descended upon their small home after his father's passing. Ethan was just a sapling then, and without a tremor of hesitation, Eleanor had become both the sturdy trunk and the sheltering branches. She navigated the demanding currents of work, ensuring Ethan's life was rich with not just necessities like well-worn but cared-for clothes and a solid education, but also those ephemeral joys that paint the canvas of childhood. Though bone-deep weariness often clung to her like a persistent shadow, she never uttered a sigh of complaint, her heart fueled by the conviction that she was cultivating the best possible life for Ethan. Now, at 17, Ethan was unfurling into a young man of admirable character and burgeoning responsibility. Yet, in the hidden corners of Eleanor's heart, she still glimpsed the vulnerable little boy who once sought refuge in her embrace, when nightmares stalked his sleep, or the rumble of a thunderstorm rattled his small world. One twilight evening, after a particularly grueling day that had leached the very marrow from her bones, Eleanor finally sank onto the plush cushions of the sofa. A long, shuddering exhale escaped her lips as she gently massaged the insistent throb in her weary feet. The weight of fatigue pressed down on her, yet beneath it lay a quiet satisfaction, the comforting knowledge that she had steered her day with unwavering dedication. Just as a fragile peace began to settle over her, Ethan appeared in the doorway of the living room, his hand rubbing the taut muscles at the nape of his neck, his expression etched with unmistakable discomfort. "Mom," he began, his voice a low rumble, "do you think you could work your magic on my shoulders for a bit? They're screaming after basketball practice." He punctuated his request with a slight stretch of his long arms. Eleanor's gaze softened instantly as she looked up at him. "Of course, my love. Come, settle down." Ethan lowered himself to the floor in front of her, and as her hands settled onto his broad shoulders, she immediately registered the rigid bands of tension coiled beneath her fingertips. Her brow furrowed slightly as she began to knead the stubborn knots. "You're wound up tighter than a spring, sweetheart," she murmured, her thumbs pressing gently along his tense shoulder blades. A low groan rumbled in Ethan's chest. "Yeah, Coach has been driving us relentlessly. I think I might have strained something." Her hands continued their soothing work, her touch intuitively finding the pockets of pain and coaxing them to release. It was a fleeting moment, yet Eleanor treasured these small acts of care. Even as Ethan stretched towards manhood, she still found profound comfort in these tangible expressions of her love. As her fingers traced the contours of his shoulders, Ethan's movements stilled. A brief silence hung in the air before he finally spoke, his voice carrying a new weight. "Mom, could I ask you something?" Eleanor's hands slowed almost imperceptibly, a subtle shift in her awareness signaling the gravity in his tone. "Of course, darling. What's on your mind?" Ethan shifted uneasily, as if wrestling with unspoken words. "Promise you won't, well, you won't make a big deal out of it?" A soft chuckle escaped Eleanor's lips, a gentle amusement easing the sudden tension in the room. "Now you've truly piqued my curiosity. Just tell me." Ethan released a long breath before the words finally tumbled out. I I need some advice about a girl." For a heartbeat, Eleanor's hands paused completely. Then, a wave of relief washed over her, and a warm laugh bubbled up from her chest. "Oh, Ethan, is that all? You had me imagining all sorts of calamities." Ethan turned slightly, a delicate blush painting his cheeks a soft rose. "It's not just any girl, Mom. I I really like her, and I haven't a clue what to do. I don't want to completely ruin things." Eleanor's heart swelled with tenderness. Ethan had always been a little withdrawn when it came to matters of the heart, so this vulnerability, this open seeking of her counsel, spoke volumes of his trust. She smiled warmly, her hands resuming their rhythmic massage. Tell me everything about her, sweetheart, she encouraged. Ethan leaned back against her legs, a soft sigh escaping his lips. Her name is Clara. She sits across from me in history. She's so quick-witted, genuinely funny, and honestly, she's the most radiant girl I've ever seen. I just, I don't know how to ask her out without sounding like a complete buffoon. Eleanor's smile deepened with understanding. Oh, my dear boy, every young man feels like they're teetering on the edge of foolishness when they take that leap. The secret lies in a quiet confidence. If your feelings are true, be honest and direct. Ethan's gaze fell to his hands, his fingers tracing invisible patterns. But what if she says no? Eleanor's hands tightened their gentle grip on his shoulders. Then, my love, at least you dared to try. Rejection is a universal experience, a bend in the road we all encounter. It doesn't diminish who you are, but you'll forever wonder, what if you don't take this chance? A thoughtful sigh escaped Ethan. I suppose you're right. Eleanor leaned down and pressed a tender kiss to the crown of his head. Of course I am. And remember this, Ethan. Your truest self is your greatest asset. If Clara is the right girl for you, she'll see the wonderful young man you are, not some fabricated version of who you think she wants. Ethan turned and embraced her tightly. Thanks, Mom. I really needed to hear that. Eleanor's arms enfolded him, a silent promise of unwavering support. Anytime, my heart. Now go and rest. Tomorrow, that courage will be waiting for you. The following day, Ethan carried his mother's words like a talisman. Despite the flutter of nerves in his stomach, he found Clara after history class. His heart hammered against his ribs, but he anchored himself to Eleanor's wisdom. Taking a steadying breath, he approached her with a newfound resolve and asked her if she would go out with him. To his utter delight, a warm smile bloomed on Clara's face, and she said yes. That evening, Ethan practically burst through the front door, his face illuminated with pure joy. Mom, she said yes, he exclaimed, his voice ringing with elation. Eleanor turned, her laughter mirroring his happiness, and embraced him tightly. I never doubted you for a moment, my brave boy. Ethan beamed as he pulled away, his fingers already flying across his phone screen, a wide grin plastered on his face as he texted Clara. Eleanor watched him, a profound sense of pride swelling in her chest. It was in these radiant moments that she knew, with unwavering certainty, that she was indeed guiding him well.